Hey all, thank you so much. I can't believe it's almost 2:15. And for my last and final guest, thank you all for joining us live, joining us on the replay. I mean, I can't believe it's like over 2 hours into this. I appreciate all the comments, all the downloads. I just heard from Shanda. Um, and we have gone number one bestseller in another two categories. So that's very exciting. So thank you everyone for all of your support. I really appreciate it. And it's a little bit surreal. So thank you. I'm excited for my next guest, Tiffany Totah. I'm going to welcome her on in just a moment. But again, just wanted to take a time to say thank you. Just thank you so much for joining us and just, being amazing as I am here, vulnerable and open and honest, because that's not something that we were taught to do. So I appreciate all of you and I'm grateful for that. And thank you so much for helping us get into two more categories of bestseller. And I'm going to get started and I'm going to bring Tiffany on. So if you are here with us, please let us know you're here. I don't know you're here unless you tell us. And if you have questions, please like put them in the comments. Um, Definitely looking forward to your questions as we continue launch day. And yeah, I'm just going to get started. Tiff, you ready? Welcome, girl.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh man, I am so thrilled to be with you right now. High
Thank you.
five.
Thank you. High five. And Mimi just popped on. Mimi and Pam, thank you, sisters. Getting emotional because like y'all are my tribe. And like I said, this is not my win. It is our win. This is not my celebration. It's our celebration. This is for all of us. So I love you all and thank you for being here. Would anyone believe you? Like if we had to write like the last 3 months?
No. I think one of the things, Grace, that I wanted to acknowledge in this book is the journey.
Mhm.
And every step of the way, just how being mindful to your path, being mindful to your steps, just chipping away. A lot of people see like the book, right? And it's an incredible book. It's a book you can pick up 10 times a year from now and still get nuggets from.
Thank
But
you.
it's about the process and chipping away at the process. And what an incredible, I'm so blessed to be on this journey with you. It has been amazing.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And something that you just talked about, it's chipping away. And something I think as as a coach and you as a therapist, for me, there was a point where I felt like, gosh, I teach this and I live this. Like I felt a little bit ashamed. Like, how am I going through this? It's like if I teach this and live this, why am I experiencing this? And what I've learned is like the journey never ends. Like you don't reach the destination.
No, I think a lot of times what people, they'll like, what we call flight of health. Like they'll go to a retreat or they will read a book or they'll listen to a podcast and they'll feel all this like, woohoo, I'm healed. And I'm like, are you? Are you? You know, I'm a realist in the room with my clients. And the reality is it's hard work
It is.
and it takes dedication, it takes tenacity, it takes commitment to yourself and every day, sometimes all day long,
Mm.
especially when you're struggling and people just think, oh, it's this easy thing, and it's not. It's quite difficult.
No, it's not easy. But when you get to the other side of it, it's so amazing. And that's why like I love the title. And when it just kind of dropped in, I was like, yes, dare to go from fucked up to fabulous. That's amazing. I love it. Yes. And granted, none of us are, fucked up. We're all on the journey that we're meant to be on. And at the same time, what is like when we talk about the work, what can that mean?
For me, the work is each person is going to be on their path. So whatever the work means to them. But the work is really taking a look at what's not working in your life. What are the people, places, things that are holding you back from joy, from living fully. And if we're really honest with ourselves, there are a lot of things in our lives that we put up with, especially women from our cultures, like, that we put up with, that we really need to let go. And but we as human beings will hang on to things for dear life
Mhm.
and not recognizing. And the work is really just being aware of that. To
Mhm.
me, the work is awareness. What is going on within me on a bodily level? What's going on with the things that are going around me? And when your body is in a state of stress or in a state of withdrawal or just not in that joy, that's a pretty good indicator that work needs to be done.
Well, like, what is it like for me? The work means the exercise.
Yeah.
The work means like having those conversations. And something I realized is like there's stuff hidden that we're not even aware of.
But that to me is the work, right? Is the awareness to say, oh, I need to exercise, or oh, I need to have I need to go reach out for support because I'm isolating too much. But if we don't have that connection with ourselves,
Yeah.
we're not going to be aware
Yes.
to engage in those self-care activities.
Mhm. And like I think that's you hit it right there. If we don't have that connection with ourselves, we don't even realize that there's something off.
And many of us grew up in environments where that was completely negated, where our needs were invalidated, our
Yeah.
emotions were suppressed.
Right.
Uh, we existed versus, and then when we were in our joy, they were like, be quiet, you're too
Yes.
loud, shut
Yes.
up. And so as adults, we have to learn, like, who am I? What's important to me? Um, how do I want to move through this life, letting go of all these messages that I received? And sometimes it's a lot of gunk.
It
Yeah,
is.
like unearth all that. That's the layer of the onion you
Oh
always talk about.
God.
Yeah.
Then there's so many layers. And something that just dropped in, there was, and we're just gonna get real and vulnerable, like whatever, what do we have to lose now? So there was a pride in being the martyr.
Mm.
There was pride taken in like, I'm gonna do this for everyone. I mean, in the world around me, what I saw, what I witnessed from the women in the world around me was they took pride in being the fucking martyr. And there's no pride in that. Like, what pride is there in sacrificing yourself?
But that's what we were taught as women, that our lives were to nurture and to give. And we came from a particular culture where they gave so much at the detriment of themselves.
And that was me, and that can still be me at some points because it's unconscious. And there's still time, like, there's still moments where I'm like, okay, what am I doing? And it's unconscious. But there's no I mean, there's no beauty in being that martyr when it's gonna affect you and hurt you.
Of course. And it's painful to watch. And it's worse to even witness, I mean, to experience.
Yes.
And again, I think we have to let go of some of those messages that it's okay to take care of ourselves. It's okay to not be that victim. But
Yes.
many times, if I could be take it a layer deeper, is that we it keeps us from taking accountability and responsibility from
Mhm.
some hard things that we need to do in our life, and that could be leaving a relationship, leaving a secure job, um, holding boundaries with people that have trampled on them, and what's the backlash of that.
Mhm.
So for the women that we grew up with, our mothers, our aunts, our grandmothers, if they were to assert themselves, there was a significant backlash
True.
from the community if they were to take care of themselves. And for me, the empathy that comes from that is that they made choices based on what they knew
Yes.
and what they felt was allowed.
Yes.
So
And you know what? I'm getting emotional because I wanna acknowledge the generation that came before us.
yes,
They suffered.
they suffered a lot.
They really suffered, and I wanna really acknowledge that we see you.
Yes.
And we are so grateful for you for the path that you paved for us, because I'm gonna just not I'm gonna be straight. Like, I don't think I could have put up with and done what they did and what they put up with. And I just want to acknowledge that we're so grateful and thankful to you women, and my mom and grandparent, like all of you, for doing w- what you did, and paving the path for us. I want to acknowledge that.
I love that. Yes. And that's where the work for us, for the work, how important it is to heal, how important it is what you leaned into in your book around the vulnerability of airing, just kind of putting it out there. That was such a huge example, not just to our generation, our peers, but to the younger generation, to say there's a different way.
Yes.
There's a different path. And here is what we're doing to help you pave that. You know, we're saying we're taking the strength of our ancestors, and we're gonna transmute it into
Yes.
this power that,
Yes.
you writing this book was just, it's a huge accomplishment, and
Yes.
you're transmuting all that victimness
Mhm.
into an empowerment, not just for us, Grace, but for the younger generation.
Thank you. And I mean, one of my greatest accomplishments is when I see my boys just so different than I was at their age, and grounded. And I mean, yes, I think it's for men and women. It's not just talking about women, but mainly, I know we were talking about women, but just I see them so different. And I know that they're different. They have a different level of awareness because of the work that I've done to heal.
Absolutely. Yes. And we also learn, like, to control. We always want to control outcomes or control certain things, right? And our parent they were a generation that wanted to control every narrative,
Yeah.
how we looked, how we moved. And um like, one of the chapters in the book that I absolutely love was the surrender chapter,
Thank you.
and how we needed to just surrender to um, the control of, and lean into the possibilities versus leaning into the fear.
Yes, yes. And that's a big one, was the control. It's like, I remember my mom, she always wanted me to make sure like everything with everyone is okay. Like that was my job, my responsibility. But like, that's unrealistic. Like, how could you cannot control other, things outside of you, especially human beings. And so that's, God, I just feel it in my back. That speaks to what you talked about, control. Like, they wanted, and again, it's not right or wrong, it's just that's what they knew. That's the best that they knew, and they were passing it down to us, when in reality, that control is resistance and it hinders us.
That's right. And so that's where, when we have awareness, like, I'm feeling nervous in my belly, or I'm feeling like this heaviness in my chest, your body is saying, hey, take a look at this. You're not feeling safe. And many times, emotional safety wasn't even anything we remotely
Oh gosh.
at
No,
all had.
no,
And
I
so,
don't think
yeah,
I don't think not till recently did I have emotional safety. I mean, there was no emotional safety in the world that I lived in. And I think that's why I was always in a heightened state, because I never felt safe.
that's right. So we come from a culture, and I think many cultures can, I mean, as human beings, when you're in those environments where you're constantly judged, constantly scrutinized, um, nitpicked at, right? That your body is going to be in this hyper aroused state,
Mhm.
and or sometimes it'll be in a shutdown state. And to recognize, oh, okay, where am I at? I'm feeling a low mood. That's when you need to get up
Mhm.
and move. When you're in a activated state, right? I call it the hamster wheel, right? You're on this hamster wheel, just moving, 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 going, going, going. And because that was pretty much what we learned from many of our mothers, is they were constantly doing, and there was very little room for being. And
Mhm.
that's when, I think, was it you and Melissa may have talked about the pause,
The
right?
pause.
Right, the pause, and how important it is to just slow yourself down. But that takes a certain level of surrender and self trust to say, I'm going to be okay. And that's where you have to give yourself that emotional safety when you're surrounded by others, or have people you can reach out to provide that for you. And
Yes.
that takes work. The work is finding those individuals, and then also you reflecting within yourself around where you're at and giving yourself permission to give yourself what you need.
Yes, I love that, giving yourself permission and to surround yourself, and be discerning of who you surround yourself with and who you reach out. You want to I started small. That's how I started. Started, a small community where I felt safe, and then I started to open up, and then I am where I am today. So there was no way I could have done this starting my journey. Like I had to start, I had to feel safe with, a few people, and then kind of expand that out. And there's still times where I might not feel 100% safe, but I know how to um what's the word you use? I know how to I guess manage the emotion, and I recognize like that's a little girl in me, and now I'm an adult and I have these resources, and it helps me come back to my body.
That's right. Because I mean, I don't mean to laugh because it's not fun, but I like to use humor because
Cool.
it's tragic at times being a human being, as wonderful as it is. It's tough, and a lot of times when we're responding to situations, we're responding to that
Mhm.
wounded child
Yeah.
within, or that child that was invalidated. And I always let why people say, Tiffany, why am I reacting this way? I'm like, well, it's not you, the adult, right?
Right.
Right? It's that little guy or that little gal inside you that was craving attention, or seeking love, or wanting to be heard or seen. And so you cannot expect another person to do that until you can do that for yourself.
Yes. And that's where we miss like, again, you don't know what you don't know till you know it, right? And so in the world around me, the validation always had to come from outside. It was like, okay, what are they going to say? It was never, you never turned within. It was always like you were validated by everything outside of you. And I never realized, like, okay, that's complete self sabotage because it has to come from here. But we were never taught that. We were taught to look out at everyone else for validation.
For sure. And when you start to do the work, sometimes you need a coach, you need a therapist,
Absolutely.
you need a really good, neutral friend, or someone that's as neutral as possible, to affirm you. And then once you're seen, I mean, that's the beauty. I mean, that's what I love about being a therapist is I could sit in a room with someone that has like very little sense of self, and I can mirror for them and reflect back to them and see them. And it is probably one of the most powerful experiences. And this is where, how do we move amongst one another?
Yes.
What can we do to bring that light to other people, right? That when you take the pebble and you throw it in the pond,
Yes.
and then it ripples out. I mean,
Absolutely.
each and every one of us, if we, as we do the work, we can bring that to the person at the bus stop, at the grocery store, in our workplace, right?
I love what you said, as a therapist, like you just look at the person, and you see them, and that's so powerful. I remember I did an exercise in one of Sunny Dawn Johnson's workshops, and I would love to do this again one day in our own workshop. She said, turn to the person next to you and just sit for, I don't remember how long it was, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, I don't remember, and just look at them. And you just stare at them, and that was the most I mean, I will never forget the face of this beautiful Persian woman. I will n That was the most powerful experience I ever had, and we both started crying, and we're strangers, and it was just in that moment, like, when you connect to that like, she saw me and I saw her, and it's so powerful because I don't think most of us get that. I don't think most of us get to feel seen in that way.
I mean, in my experience, very, very rarely. And even when we're in our relationships, do we see our partners? Do we see our children? Do we see our family members that are healthy, whole, and integrated? There's some you're like, oh, I don't want to see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I have to vouch for that. But in what you're saying, what popped in, we all want to be seen, but do they in that moment, in the consciousness, do they really want to be seen?
It's profoundly uncomfortable
Yeah.
for many. I mean, it is profoundly uncomfortable to be seen.
Hmm.
And most people run for the hills. And
Right.
that's where it's like, just stick with me in here. When I'm working with someone, I'm
Yeah.
like, let's
In
just stick
there.
us into that,
Yes.
right?
'Cause on
You
the other
know,
side of it, it's so amazing.
it's pretty, it's yeah, it's a good gig. I love it. I love it.
I do too. Something that I've only just recently started to hear about, probably in the last year, 18 months, is, and I want to touch on this, the masculine and the feminine energy. I
Mhm.
never knew that. I mean, we all have masculine and feminine energy. I never knew that most of my life I lived in my masculine energy, as a way to survive. And the masculine energy to me means in the doing, in the staying, closed off and just being strong. And there's nothing wrong. We both have the feminine and masculine flowing through us. And it wasn't until recently, that I felt safe enough to allow myself to step into that feminine energy of receiving,
Mm, mhm,
being.
mhm.
And it's been incredible, and I'm still learning about it, so I'm not the best person to, like, speak on it, but in my masculine energy, I felt like I had to do, and kind of show up like this, and in the feminine energy, I'm, like, allowing myself to relax and be open to receive, and to actually own myself as a woman, because I don't think we were given permission to own the woman in us.
Oh God, I was like, what?
Right?
That the sexy, that was like completely shut down
Totally.
for many of us. Mhm.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing, and I write about it in the book, like, our mothers and our aunts were so sensual and so sexy, and they showed up, like, gorgeous and in their glory, and so many of them, still do, and so it was confusing to me because I would witness this amazing, kind of sexiness, like, when we'd go to Shahrazad and I'd watch them dance, and the music, and it was sexy, but then they shut it down in us. So now I'm learning, like, okay, and that's why I wanted to write that chapter, because it's not about the physical act. It's about owning that sensuality that's within us. It's a beautiful thing. But we've shut it down because we were taught that it was no good. But then at the same time, we witnessed, like, their amazing energy when they were in that flow. And I'll never forget that. Those were some of the best times when we're in the haflas, and I was watching them dance and be in their joy. Like, I love those memories.
It's really interesting, if we're going to go, around the divine I like to refer to like the divine masculine and the divine
Yes.
feminine is, and how do we, again, with awareness, to look within to say, what does that even mean to me? How do I want to access that within myself? And to just talk about sensuality and sexuality. And as a woman, I think our society is moving us towards shutting that down. I've seen that in my clinical practice, where women feel the need to be more like the traditional stereotypical, I'm going to get in trouble, male stereotype, to move towards that, right? Versus the softness, the power of that divine feminine energy comes from, I can't even explain it or articulate it, but it comes from a softer, more gentle place. And it doesn't mean weakness. It
No.
actually comes from our power.
Yes, from our strength, and it's, stepping into that, and it's a balance, and I'm learning to flow, because we need both, and that they're both divine masculine and divine feminine are both beautiful. We both need it, both genders, or whatever gender you choose to refer as. We all have it within us, and just to flow between, the two, and what's dropping in is to be just being open to love,
Yeah,
being open to receive,
that's right.
being open to be seen,
That's
being
right.
open to be vulnerable and authentic to who you are.
That's right. And that's accessing that part of you, that power within you. And It really is not caring about what other people think.
Yes.
And
I mean,
it's really about, yeah, not caring. And I mean, I could care less, right? I think that was part of my journey where, oh my God, if I was breathing wrong, I was like, oh my God, they're not going to like it. You know, where now I'm like,
oh, I wanted to translate the word ayeb, but I wasn't able to. I think, I use the word shame in the book because it's like the book of ayeb is like this big. And if you're breathing, like everything was shameful. Everything you did was, because we had to care about so much what other people say. And let me tell you, I'm not going to say there aren't times where I'm like, I get triggered. I'm like, oh my God, what are they going to say? But it's very, very rare. And it's so free. I mean, would I even be up here doing all this and writing the book and stuff? I mean, like, my mom would like, "Hey,
I think you ruffled a few feathers already, Grace, with the book. Everyone's like, what's she saying? What did she write? Everyone's afraid you're airing out the dirty
no,
laundry.
no, I'm not airing out the dirty laundry, but it's just it feels free. Like I feel so free, for the first time. Not for the first time, I felt free for the many, many years. But there's a freedom in being like, yes, and what? What? Like please don't worry about what other people say. And I know as we get older we get better. I've seen that in my circles, and but other people's opinions of us don't define us. Their opinion is really only their perspective. It's based on their insecurities, has nothing to do with us.
But that's where the work comes in, right? We're looping it back to the work. We're looping it back to the what we call the wash, rinse, repeat. So when those insecurities come up, taking a look, having that awareness, why am I getting triggered right now? What's happening within me? And then what story do you want to tell yourself around that particular interaction or those feelings? And it's I have to say, behavioral change is not easy. It takes commitment, time, dedication,
Hmm.
and then more time, more dedication, more commitment.
Yes.
But it really is about getting a hold of your mindset. It all begins with, how can I be okay with who I am? Can I just be okay?
Amen. Amen.
And yeah,
And you're right. It's not easy. It is mindset. The stories we tell ourselves have kept us safe for a very long time. And something I've done is honored, those stories, even though they were false and they held me back, because when I didn't know any better, they kept me safe.
and for me, they kept me small.
That too.
Yeah,
That too. Like we've learned to dim our light. Like to it's not okay to shine because it's going to make the other person uncomfortable.
that's right. That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
and I've had a hard time with that. Whereas now it's more like, you shine to show an example of what's possible.
Exactly. And that's what you've given us, that example. I'm going to get vulnerable with you. Like, this is what the book represents, Grace. That's for anyone that can understand your journey, our journeys. It's keep how we keep ourselves small, how we keep ourselves safe, and how it keeps us from fully living.
Yeah.
And your book is a testament to letting all that go
Yeah.
and doing the work.
Thank you. And there's something like I want to, um, did I already talk about Aishin Milkit al-Maut? Like
No.
there's a saying in Arabic is like, you're basically living like close to death. And I always tease about this. It's like, we want to live a life to the fullest and have fun and enjoy and not, نعيش من كلة الموت. Like who wants to do that? And I hope that this book really, is a testament to live your life the way you want it. It doesn't matter. Definitely do the healing. It's not easy. There's definitely resources out there. I'm not saying like this is an easy thing to do. I'm saying it's possible And you can live every and someone what one like I the way I want to live may not be the way you want to live, and that's okay. But we can live outside of this mediocrity, because being in that mediocrity and in that mud, it's not fun. You don't feel alive. I want people to feel as alive as I felt.
Yes. And that's with gratitude and appreciation. And when you're in the mud, how do you find appreciation in that? How do you find those moments of joy? And it's tough when you're in a
And
shitty space, and then you can look out and say, well, there's a tree and it's beautiful and the sun is shining. And then, okay, I could stay present to that even
yes,
though I feel horrible, right?
yes,
And
yes,
but again, that's the work. That's, I mean, people don't understand. I think it's lost on a lot of people that it's a lot of work. And you have to surround yourself with people who are also living in their joy or
yes,
making attempts to move forward. Like, who do you surround yourself with to keep in that momentum and that capitalization on that optimum, sensual, like fun, feminine,
yes,
right? Whatever it is you want to call in, you want
yes.
what we call co-creators to be around that. So you're constantly elevating. We may not be all on the same path, but that we're all moving towards
Excuse me.
more joy.
Yes. And it is mindset. It a lot of it is mindset and how we choose to show up. And not that we're not going to have our dark nights of the soul, because those are necessary, but we also get to make a choice. And for a long time, I didn't feel I had a choice.
Oh man, I get it. I
I
get it.
want to say hello to some people that are on here with us.
Yeah.
Crystal's here, Mimi's here, Brandy's with us. Tammy, thank you so much. Pam says Shahrazad, and she starts laughing. Yes, I remember that was a great fun place. Mimi says yee. Linda is like validating, amen. Tammy says sometimes insecurities are familiar, and familiarity feels safe until it's not. Yes, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. I love that. Um, Tammy says anything is possible when we put our mind to it. Determination, commitment, showing up, doing the work, gratitude for able. Yes, all of that, and it just takes a small step, just to get started, and then the universe, God, really shows up, and everything else begins, to unfold. But I that's definitely another chapter for sure. It's been amazing, really amazing. All of these incredible comments, having Tiff here with me today. I always, love your perspective, on things. Like, you have such a elegant way of communicating some really challenging concepts, and I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you, Grace. Elegant. I don't know how elegant I am, but I
Yeah, you
appreciate you.
do. It's like you make it like it's so smooth, and then it's like, God, it's over my head so much of the time. But you definitely communicate it in a way that's definitely understandable, and that's what I wanted to make it. Because some of these terms are not easy for everyone to grasp or understand. Like for me, I never even limiting beliefs. I never even really heard of it. All of the work that I've done, I wasn't ready to hear it, until in this decade.
And what I love, and I don't know if we need to wrap up, but what I love about the book is that it's very digestible. It's easy. I mean, for me, from a clinical perspective, I thought, oh, this is great for my
Yeah,
clients
thank
because because so many of these concepts, there's a lot of really good self-help book. There's a lot of good books out there, spiritual, all kinds of books, all kinds of information. And sometimes we have to listen to something 8, 9, 10, 15, 1,000 times in different ways. And but it needs to be, I'm a firm believer, simple, easy, digestible. What can I do when I'm in distress? Give
thank
me a tool. And how many tools can we put in our life tool belt? And your book is definitely
you.
lots of tools you can add to your tool belt, maybe sharpen up some tools you already got.
Thank you.
But it's really just an
Thank you.
amazing,
Right.
yeah.
I really appreciate that very much. Very, very much. I just, again, my intention was to, I don't want anybody to live in that prison of their mind anymore. I mean, I know we're going to have the dark nights of the soul, but my intention was to bring this out to show that we can definitely live a different way. And I hope if you have questions for Tiff or I, please don't hesitate, put them in the comments. Um, I appreciate you. I appreciate you joining me today, Tiff. I'm super excited for the launch party tomorrow. Thank you for all of you who have RSVP'd and who are going to be joining us, because I am just really looking forward to having a great time and dancing and having fun. And my intention is like everyone to come and leave there feeling alive and in flow. And because I think that's so fun. Like we could definitely be responsible and adult and have fun at the same time. So thank you to everyone who's joined us today, who's joined me. I know it's God, we're going on 3 hours, and I'm very excited and I appreciate all of you. Like I said earlier, thank you so much. Now, I know earlier we were number one bestseller in 3 categories. As of right now, Shanda, before I got on with Tiffany, let us know that we have hit number one in another 2 categories. So we are number one bestseller on Amazon in 5 different categories. And I thank you, all of you, for helping us get there. I really appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. And thank you so much for being here with us and watching the replay. You can do, be, and have whatever you want in this lifetime. So I love you. I appreciate you. And I wish you all a very fabulous rest of the night. And I'll see some of you tomorrow. God bless. Take care. Tiff, hang on with me.